Good afternoon. Today I will be discussing three main topics: facts about teen drug use, how to escape peer pressure regarding drug use, and finally, using a pros and cons list to determine that drugs are not the best thing for you. When we enter high school, there will be a lot of different decisions that we will have to make. Should I go to this class? Should I not do my homework? Should I do my homework? These are all questions that we are faced and that we have to answer. So I will now discuss ways to escape peer pressure, seeing as it is one of the biggest influences in high school. I've compiled a list of 20 different ways to escape and evaluate your peer pressure situation. One of the most important things to know is if you are being peer pressured. Peer pressure is the influence people use to force someone to do something unwillingly or something that they do not want to do. The first step of escaping peer pressure is to identify that you are experiencing peer pressure. For the purpose of this presentation, I will be focusing on teen drug use and peer pressuring. Ready for that list of 20 different ways to escape peer pressure? Here you go. Example number 1. Ask one-on-one questions. For example, if a pal pressures you to smoke, ask her why she smokes, how long she smoked, how has it made her feel. 2. Say no like you mean it. Make eye contact and say no forcefully with authority. This will make them less likely to pressure you again. Back up a no with a positive statement like, I like my brain the way it is, I don't want to do drugs to harm myself. Be repetitive. Don't hesitate to state your position over and over again. Practice saying no. Practice saying no in safe environments so that you will know how to say no in a real situation. Get away from the pressure zone. Leave the scene if you are getting peer pressured. There's no pressure for you to actually stay there. Avoid stressful situations in the first place. For example, if you know that there is a party going on, then you should, and you know that there is going to be drugs involved, skip that party. It's not worth it in the long run. Use a buddy system. Find a friend who shares the same morals as you and work together if you are going to a party. Confront the leader of the pack. Usually when people peer pressure, there is always one head of the group that is doing the majority of the peer pressure. Go right up to them and say, no, this is not something that I'm going to do, as forcefully as possible. Consider the results of giving in. Take a moment and say, is drugs really worth doing? No, they're not, and I will get into that in more depth in a few minutes. Look for positive role models. Don't focus on the people that are doing drugs, but focus on all the good people that are doing good things in the world. Don't buy the line that everyone's doing it. The truth is, not everyone's doing it. Seek support. If you are getting peer pressured, talk to a counselor, an adult, a parent, or anyone that you trust. Be your own best friend. Remind yourself every now and then that you're special and nuke any negative statements. Find different ways to excel. Find something that intrigues your interest, and this will make you less likely to fall into a peer pressure situation. Speak out. Fight peer pressure by taking the side of the underdog. Supporting others' opinions will send the message that you think for yourself. Watch your moods. Be aware that your moods can affect your sensibility. This applies to the sense that when you are being peer pressured, you want to make sure that your moods are in check. Evaluate your friendships. If your friends start to do drugs and are bugging you to do the same, then it's time to figure out if they are true friends. And if that's the case, find new friends. And if you've decided that your friends don't share your best interests, search out new friends who share the same values and morals and interests as you. You will be happier overall. These were my 20 ways to escape peer pressure and to evaluate your peer pressure situation. I hope you enjoyed. Now it's time to evaluate the pros and cons of this situation regarding the drug use. I could only think of 2 pros of doing drugs. Would be temporary fun, and then you could fit in. Although fitting into that type of group is not something that you should want to do. Now it's time for the cons. Doing drugs could affect your permanent record. For example, if you get caught, that could mean jail time, or if you are a child, it could mean juvie. We live in such a superficial world. When your looks get affected by drugs, it wouldn't be good. Doing drugs could also affect your relationships, whether or not they are loving or if they are just friend relationships. It could completely wreck the trust that those people would have for you. Doing drugs can also affect your future. Doing drugs often makes people less driven to strive for their best. So as soon as you start doing drugs, you start to close the doors of your future. Family and friends trust. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but your family and friends would no longer trust you nearly as much as they would if you weren't doing drugs, especially if they are not supporting that type of behavior. Doing drugs would also affect your grades. For example, if you were a straight A student and you start to slack off because you were doing drugs, then your grades will plummet. Doing drugs also negatively affects brain development. Doing drugs would also affect your sports negatively. If you were a good athlete and doing drugs would stop your progress in making good decisions in your sports, and doing drugs would also mean a higher chance of you getting cancer. Those are all my negative cons for doing drugs. As you can see, the cons severely outweigh the pros in regards to doing drugs. Say no to drugs. I looked at a survey taken in 2014 which surveyed 41,551 students from 377 different public schools. Here's the overall alcohol, cigarette, and illicit drug use. 37.4% of all grade 12 students take drugs. 23.5% of grade 10 students take drugs, and 9% of 8th graders take drugs. These statistics have gone down severely since 1994. However, illicit drug use has increased. Teens are more likely to use e-cigarettes now than regular cigarettes. This statistic, using e-cigarettes has doubled over the use of cigarettes. Less than 5 students in each class think that e-cigarettes are harmful. 2/3, which is 64%, of high school seniors do not view marijuana as harmful. Smoking and binge drinking have gone down over the past decade, but drug use has gone up.